Evening, folks, and welcome to this very rare Wednesday evening edition of the Teahouse. I've had the last 7.5 hours or so trying to decide exactly what I was going to talk about tonight. I've kind of come to the decision that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about my life-altering accident that I had all the way back in 2022. I've discussed this on Nick's other show, the Historical Fencing Guild stream, every Friday at 8 Eastern, I think. But I don't know if most of the people in the chat here know about what happened to me, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Back in, I want to say late 2021, I saw in our local newspaper that our tiny little southeastern Utah mountain town was going to have a Renaissance fair. The first one in this town. Now, I had never been to a Renaissance fair. So, needless to say, I was pretty excited at this prospect. And it was going to be in May on a Saturday. And I think I first heard about this in August or September. So I had close to like 8 or 9 months to prepare. And the day came, May 7th, 2022. I wore my red dagua, the same robe that I wore for my ad for this channel. I was carrying this, my black synthetic Blades USA Gen, mostly because I wasn't fully aware of what the rules were for wearing live steel, but actually found out later that there wasn't really any issue with carrying steel swords. I even knew a couple of people who accidentally brought sharps with them. So there we go. Look at that guy. Pretty good crowd. There's my lovely Foxy there. And right around behind this post right here, there was a bulletin board showing all of the different activities for the day. Now, this particular fair was sponsored by an armored combat league upstate. So there were lots of armored knights there. There were lots of demonstrations and exhibitions. They had a small list field made where they had a few fights. Lower down on the list, there was something that intrigued me. Well, let's be fair, everything intrigued me. But at 2 p.m., there was something that said sword school. Now, I'm a swordsman, have been for most of my life. So this was something I wanted to attend. And we walked around. Here's a short little video of one of the fights. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. We checked out the vendors, got some pictures. I really like this one. Little sword in the stone they made. There's a picture of one of the knights. This is a good picture. This is we're going to leave this on screen for a minute. So we walked around. We checked out the vendors. And then we got hungry. But as most fairs and things like that, the food was fairly expensive, and just down the street was McDonald's. So we walked down to McDonald's in costume and got some lunch. We got back just as the sword school was starting. Now, this is the sword school. Now, to kind of explain things a little bit, this right here is the stage. That a little bit bigger. This is the stage. Here's all the kids. They had been selling wooden weapons. They had swords and claymores and axes. Oh, excuse me. Now, if I had a picture looking at it from the other direction, I would show you what's wrong with this setup. Because this is not a very good setup. The stage, if you were to look at it from up here, the stage is actually level with the ground. And then they just kind of dug an area underneath the stage in an area that I lovingly call the pit. Now, this is the sword school. And I sat and watched, took pictures. There might be a video. It's taken more from the side. There's our 3 teachers. This is taken kind of from the front. This is more side view. They got one of the kids up there as a demonstration. Now, you can't really see it very well from this angle. But you can definitely see that the ground, the stage is not actually raised above the ground. The stage is level with the ground, and then they have a hole in front of the stage.
So you put one,
Here we go.
Your dominant foot. If you like to kick with your right foot, put your right foot forward, and then turn that other foot at a 90-degree angle to it. So if you brought them together, you'd be making like the edge of a square. Now, bring your sword up to your chest and point it upwards at a 45-degree angle. What this does is it makes your opponent scared to approach you, because you could easily point that down and go towards those soft areas that we talked about. All right, Mason, and then how do we attack from this form? Show it to him one more time. All right, so do you guys all see that? So you have it pointed here. You bring the bottom half back to your shoulder, and then step forward and do a swing across the body, okay? All right, do you guys feel like you understand that move? Do you?
All right, so we're going to bring this picture back. We're going to leave that up there for a minute. Anyone who has been around children for any length of time is probably aware you teach them something like this, they're going to want to play. And that's exactly what happened. Right after this sword school ended, the kids were running around, sword fighting with each other and any other adult who happened to have a weapon, which was quite a few of us. Now, earlier in the day, I had run across a young gentleman who was kitted out in some Scottish attire. He had a kilt, he had hose, a sporran, and he had a blunt arming sword. So, of course, the kids wanted to fight with him. And me being me, I saw one person being overwhelmed by half a dozen young children. Now, that's just not going to fly for me. So he was up here in this area, kind of behind the stage. So I came and took some of the children off of him. That's me and a couple. These pictures were taken. I was not aware of this. These pictures were taken by Foxy. 3 kids. There was a young girl there at one point. She was kind of back here. You didn't really see her. These pictures are going backwards. Ah, there she is. So we started back behind the stage. Just one at first. And then a couple more showed up. And a couple more after that. I am going around the outside edge of the stage. And as you can probably tell, for most of it, I was walking backwards. Stupid, I know. And I messed up. And go back and find that picture of the stage. Right around here. I was walking backwards, parrying 3 different strikes all at the same time. And my heel hit right around here. And I fell backwards onto the stage. Now, at first, I assumed I was fine. I was embarrassed. I had injured my pride. At least that's what I thought at the time. And I stood up. And I stood up just fine. The little girl came up and handed me the pommel of my sword because it had apparently come off at some point during the fray. She was behind me, so I turned this way. And when I came back around, started seeing black at the edges of my vision. And the black started getting bigger. So I decided it was probably prudent of me to sit back down. A paramedic came running over, asking me a bunch of questions. Did you hit your head? She saw me fall, asked me my name, asked me my age. I was not in any pain yet. But I was laying there answering these questions, and I realized that my left foot was pointing the wrong direction. So imagine these are your feet. They're usually pointing forward. Your toes are pointing forward. Well, actually point at the camera. There we go. Toes are pointing this way in front of you. Well, this foot, my left foot, was pointed completely this way, parallel to the ground. And I thought, that's odd. So I attempted to straighten it. And as soon as I did, sharp shooting pain all the way up my leg. Needless to say, I only tried to straighten that foot out one time. So, one ambulance ride, one x-ray, and one doctor consultation later, and we found out broken hip. Here's the good hip. Here's the bad hip. Cracked all the way across. Basically popped the head of my hip completely off the bone. So, yeah, broken hip. Apparently, my foot, from the force of the fall and the force of me hitting the edge of the stage, the bone was already broken off the head, and the whole bone from that crack down twisted in the socket. And the doctor told me that I could try to pin it, and I would be in the hospital for 4 to 6 weeks and be off my foot or off my leg for like 8 to 10 weeks or 8 to 10 months. Yeah, that's what it was. 8 to 10 months. Or we could replace the whole thing. So I told him, yeah, let's just replace it. Just do the whole, just replace the whole thing. So, because I had eaten lunch that afternoon, we had to wait and wait and wait. And I went in for hip replacement surgery at, I want to say 9:30 that night. Woke up the next morning and I was relatively worried because I had never really had any kind of surgery up until that point. I had broken my ankle years earlier, but it was a chip. It wasn't like bad enough to need surgery. So I had never had any kind of surgery. And my mother, who has had many, many surgeries in her life, has some kind of issue with anesthesia. When she wakes up, she is violently ill for weeks, like unable to eat. And so I was a little worried that I was going to wake up and not be able to eat anything. But for the most part, I was okay. And there's my new hip. They had completely replaced the whole thing. And the next morning, I was able to get up out of the bed, mostly under my own power. That was the biggest reason that I decided to do the total replacement. It sounded a lot better to me to be able to get up and walk the next day instead of possibly not being able to walk for 6 to 8 months. Let's go. I know. Let's go through some of the comments while I look for the video. First person is obviously Foxy. Welcome to the Teahouse. Aunt Donna, greeting Foxy. Uncle Carl, greeting the women and me. Donna greeting Carl. Just checking to see if Dawn found the link, and she did. And Donna greeting Dawn. She found us, and we have the incomparable Dan Hollifield here this evening. How's it going, Dan? And greetings. Donna and Carl, you cannot hide from me. Yeah. And greetings. And greetings, and greetings. Showtime, yes. Don't forget to like and share. Again, yes, thank you. I'm horrible at self-promotion, so. Evening thesis. Put my like on it when the link was posted, and never mind the furthermore. Well, thank you. Glad to see everyone. It was a good time, to the point that we went back last year and we're going again this year. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah. Not quite a shoe, but Minnesota has a huge Renaissance fair. There's a couple of hours upstate. There's the Highland Games and things like that, but there's never been anything in this town. So it was fun. One in Kansas City. OSHA training is kicking in. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing that Nick said when I told him the story on the Historical Fencing Guild stream. Yeah, the yellow line. That's yeah. Unsupervised children. Yeah. Back of the stage, there's kind of a sidewalk around the stage, which is where that was filmed from. Yes. Children are the worst. Well, yeah, they can be. My youngest student is my 6-year-old cousin, who, if you were here last Saturday, the knocking on the door, that was her coming to see the dog. They were all, big kid included, having a blast until I tripped. Ow, yeah. Ow. One of the kids went and got his mom, and she was the paramedic. But she also said she saw me fall. So, yeah. Lots of ouch. One of the things that a lot of people, the doctors, the nurses, my physical therapist, they were amazed that I was not in any pain from a break like that. Other than these random cramps. And the doctor, they had a specific name for the kind of cramp, but I can't remember what it was, but it was a specific kind of cramp. We don't go near that stage anymore. Yeah, last year, actually, Foxy was at one of her therapy appointments, and for the first time in like a year and a half, there was nobody there, but I went back to that stage. And I stood there on the spot where I tripped. That was the first time I'd set foot in there in over a year. All fun and games until someone breaks a hip. Yeah. Yeah, months. Walk tomorrow, and I did, yeah. Hey, there's Joe popping in to drop a like and taking Benadryl and knocking yourself out. Yeah, you get to bed, man. You're going to have a long day tomorrow. Enjoy your sleep. He sure went for a doozy as the first one, yeah. Hi and bye, Joe. My mom was like that. Me, I love being put out. Dawn gets sick. Foxy sleeps and wakes up hungry. This is true. After her reduction, she ate bar food that night. This is true. Look at the new shiny. Yeah. No alcohol, just there was a bar across the parking lot from the hotel. Dad had something similar to fix his hip, but he was in his 70s. Yeah, everyone in physical therapy were like, you're too young to have a hip replacement. I'm like, I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? And I'm famous. Brother had a hip replacement and the replacement rejected him. Ugh. Learned a lot from having my hip done. I did. The nurses at the hospital where the hip replacement was done, and the nurses of the orthopedic surgeon who did the replacement, it's been almost 2 years. This May will be 2 years, and they still talk about it. I went in and to get my 10-day x-rays done, and the nurse giving the x-ray was like, so I hear that you have an interesting story of how this happened. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. I told the story probably half a dozen times to different nurses, different doctors. It's, yeah. Can generally eat now after procedures, but mainly because I stress over and over and over. Yeah. Miss the Renaissance Fair that used to come to Danville. They're still doing it. They moved it into a bigger space the next year, into an actual park with an actual stage, not just a hole in the ground. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't want to know. Between that and having any accident can cause retrograde amnesia. Oh boy. Adrenaline, is it? Yeah. Figured it was because the drug kept my brain from processing the short-term memory from the previous day. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'm still famous at the hospital. Still. Where is that damn video? Foxy took a video the next morning. Well, I guess it was technically morning. They came in at like 6 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. And that was when I was like, okay, now I'm going to puke. And I didn't. I just ate the whole thing. And Don's wearing a Renaissance Festival shirt. Yeah. I'm going to have to look for it. But while I look, I was outnumbered 4-1. I don't tend to tell people it was, pre-teens. I just tell people I was injured in a sword fight. It's the truth. I was injured in a sword fight, and it was, 4-on-1. I don't tell them it was children, and I don't tend to tell them that it was because I tripped over a damn stair. But it definitely changed my outlook on things a great deal, because now I have to deal with the pain and the annoyance, and it took me, well, I asked my physical therapist and I asked the surgeon when I could get back to my martial arts training, because I have been training almost daily since I was 16. So that's a long time. And now I have to start completely over at square one, at least with my lower body. Upper body stuff, it's basically the same way it's always been. But I had to start completely over with my footwork. And I'm still rebuilding from that. It's not been fun, but it has been enlightening. Making someone have to start over. I essentially have 3 students. And all of them are female. And one of them is, a child. One of them is a dancer. And the other one deals with chronic pain. And having to, deal with pain myself, it made me a lot more understanding of the issues that Foxy deals with on a daily basis. There we go. All right, hang on. And it keeps going away. Doctor gave me the maximum amount of steroids for 2 years straight. They gave me pain pills, but I only took a handful of them. Don't need to tell specifics, yeah. Some of those years weren't that great. Probably best you don't remember them. Yeah. Grew a lot personally. I wish I wouldn't have had to, go through that. A dancer is dangerous to spar with. We can't actually physically spar because, yeah, she moves like crazy. She lives up in Canada, so we have to do classes over like this, kind of like a Zoom thing. Someone we know who is an athlete had to be in a wheelchair for a little while, and it taught her how some people treat disability folks as second-class citizens. Yeah. Yeah. Short enemies and an oops with stepping. Yeah. I just generally stop with, I broke my hip in a sword fight. And that's as much information as they get. Okay, here we go. This is the morning of May 8th.
Yeah, just kind of let it slide.
I was picking the walker up. Don't you love my bright yellow socks? Aren't those so fashionable?
You're doing really well. You feeling okay?
Yeah.
Walk around the ground so you don't.
We went
Yeah, just kind of let it slide.
and turned at the end of that hallway and walked down, and in that room was a short set of stairs. Apparently I was moving really well. I felt like I was snail walking. But in the time it took for Foxy to come to stop recording and walk out to the hallway, I was already 3 doors down into the room of physical therapy. Yeah. I did physical therapy. I did. And I didn't like half-ass my physical therapy because I wanted to get back. And a month later, I was walking with a cane. I did that walker for like 10 days. Then I had the cane and put Dan on crutches. Took me an hour to learn how to use them correctly. I had to do crutches when I did my ankle. Crutches are the worst. I actually didn't like the walker. I would have rather have had crutches because the palms of my hands from holding onto that walker were bruised. It was not fun. But a month later, I had the cane, and I did the cane for probably longer than I needed to. But I didn't want to set myself back. Armpits end up purple no matter what padding they have. Yeah. Easy to use now. thought crutches were what causing my neck pain. Crutches were for when I broke my leg. Yeah. Like I said, my orthopedic surgeon and my physical therapist told me 6 months before I could get back to my martial training. And it killed me. I was literally, I couldn't train. I mean, I could do upper body stuff just fine, sitting in a chair, and I did that. Helped that Foxy had her cane, so I didn't feel weird about it, and it's true. The cane is at my parents' house because last year my mom had her hip done by the same doctor. So I let them take the cane. But I did my physical therapy. I did my exercises at home when I was not at physical therapy. I made the mistake one time. I had finished doing my daily exercises, and I was feeling pretty good. I wasn't in any pain. It was October-ish. So it had been 5 months. And I thought, I'm done. You know, they only give you so many sessions of physical therapy on the insurance that we have. And I was done with all of those, but I was still doing the exercises here at home on this couch right here. And I thought, I'm done with physical therapy. Mike, my physical therapist, says I was excellent. Every person, even other people, you know, at the physical therapy building was just amazed. Nick, we're all amazed with how well I had progressed, how quickly. So I thought, you know what? You know, the 6 months isn't up yet, but I feel good. I'm done with physical therapy. So I'm going to try something simple. I practice Bagwajang. And one of the, well, okay, it's a mutant version of Bagua. It's not purely Bagua. But one of the simplest exercises is just circle walking. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're doing palm changes while walking in a circle. I thought, hey, this will be easy. Good comeback story. And it's an ongoing comeback story. I thought, yeah, this will be easy. This right here.
2, 3.
Walking in a circle.
1, 2, 3. Inside.
The simplest
1, 2,
thing.
3.
I mean, I had been walking for a while. I had been walking. Nope. I took 2, maybe 3 steps. And I was on the floor, holding my hip in pain. Just walking around in a circle. I walk circles around Foxy. Yeah, well, wasn't quite ready for twisty walking. No, I was not. Now, as you can probably tell from my ad, circle walking isn't an issue for me anymore. I can walk circles, I can walk straight lines, but I'm still rebuilding my lower body from that accident. Almost 2 years. I don't need the cane anymore unless I do something stupid, which has happened once or twice. But I'm still ready to learn ballroom dancing. Yeah, I'll ask my other student, see what she thinks. She hasn't been a student for very long, and neither has my little cousin. But it definitely changed my outlook on things. It made me, more patient. And I do wish that it wouldn't have happened. I wish that I wouldn't have had to go through something so life-altering to get the outlook that I have now. But at the same time, it needed to happen. Have to find another partner because you dance just fine. A lot more compassionate about pain. I think of it as I needed an ego check. And I definitely got one. And I'm here today with a 3-inch scar on my left hip. And metal in my body. And it has made me better understand that, not everyone can move like me. I can't move like Foxy, and she can't move like my other student. And everyone is an individual. You cannot just take one path to teaching anything, not just for martial arts. Always take something life-altering to learn important things, and I definitely learned my lesson. Metal isn't just his music. Yeah. There's my light finally turning on. I approach every single student as an individual. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses and, disabilities, or everyone just has their own way. And it took me, basically breaking my ass to learn that lesson. Am I glad that it happened? Not at all. But now, teaching Foxy, teaching my other students, there's still a skill disparity. Because I've been doing it for a while, and they haven't really been doing it for very long. But before, And again, this is going to sound kind of egotistical, but before I was up here and they were down here. And now I'm still above them, but just a little bit. Just slightly above. Foxy has been learning from me for a few years. Our little dancer has been learning from me for a year or two. My cousin, maybe 9 months. Hi, baby. Hey, pupper. Now when I'm doing stances, that's the first thing, with the exception of my little cousin, because she's 6. But the first thing that I tend to teach people is basic wushu stances. Horse stance, bow and arrow stance, leaping tiger stance. I really need to make that video. Oh, Dawn is leaving us. Dinner is done, so I'm going to run. Have a great night, all, and I'm honored to have watched this show tonight and learn more about the thesis. Yes. You go have dinner. Foxy and I will have dinner after this is over. Bye, Dawn. Have a nice night, Dawn. I need to make that video, but I'm not going to do it in the small space I have here. Sometimes it can be an honor when the student passes the teacher. Yeah. My philosophy is I want the training to be fun. And the least fun thing to learn is those stances. It's not fun. It's boring. So a few years ago, I came up with a small mini form that turns the basic wushu stances into a form. You know, they're transitional. Instead of going from one stance and you stand up and go to the next stance and stand up and go to the next stance, they all flow together. She is more flexible. She's more flexible than most people. Has a medical condition where connective tissues don't work. She showed a couple of things to my physical therapist when I was in therapy, and he was like, wow, that's abnormal. So now when me and Foxy are doing, or my other dancer student are doing that form of the basic stances, our levels are pretty even now because I'm like slightly above, a little bit. Rebuilding from the ground up. I need to get that video filmed, put up on this channel so that people can see. Yes, you wear abnormal label well. Just like I said, was it here or was it in the green room? I don't remember. No, it was in the green room. One of my neighbor's kids, who isn't supposed to be on the property because the property owners have a restraining order against her, but she's here anyway. I was out walking the pupper, letting her go for her evening potty. And she's over there with her boyfriend or boy toy or whatever, And I could hear them. And hear them talking over there. I'm minding my own business, walking my dog, doing my own thing. And she suddenly goes, "No, him! Yeah, you! You freak me the hell out, you know that?" And I just stopped and turned and looked at her and said, "Thank you." And went back to walking my dog. You think calling me weird is going to upset me? I've been called worse. I've called myself worse. Those words don't hurt me. Does not affect me at all. I am weird. I don't care. I'm a 43-year-old white guy learning Chinese martial arts and walking around carrying things like this in public. Now, the second year, when we went back, anyone who doesn't recognize this, see if I can. This is a synthetic version of the Green Destiny from Crouching Tiger. I have a live steel version. When we went back the second year, I took the steel version, wearing it in the same sword frog, wearing the same Mandarin robe, and I'll probably wear it again this year. They're pretty close. They have the same kind of circular pommel with a hole in it. It's blunt, but it does have, let's see if we can, does have a pretty good tip. Now, after my students go through stances, then I start teaching them forms, and if they stick around long enough, then we move into weapons. But the very first weapon I always teach is the staff. Many real-life repetitive motions could be used as practice for martial arts. Some of the stuff I used to do at the factory could be applied to quarterstaff. Exactly. Can Miyagi a lot of things. Just tell folks I have a black belt in fiberglass. Hey, always start with the staff when it comes to weapons. Why? Because the staff in Chinese, Asian martial arts, the Jin is called the gentleman. The Dao is called the marshal. The staff is called the grandfather. Every single movement in any weapon form can be traced back to staff. And every movement you can do with a staff can be altered to any other weapon. So I always start with staff. And we're a little past the hour. don't think I've missed any comments. So it is most definitely dinner time. But as I promised on Nevermind the Furthermore, no food talk tonight. Go check out indiecd.org for all your creative endeavors. Itchy. Fiberglass black belt would be. Didn't know that about the staff. Yes. It is considered the grandfather of martial arts because all weapon forms, at least in Chinese martial arts, can be traced back to death. Good show. Everyone have a good evening. Might be a future show. Yeah. I can maybe add that to my docket of future shows. Looking forward to the next show. Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for commenting. Thank you for listening to me. I will see everyone in 10 days. Everyone have a lovely evening. Dan had fun. I'm glad you had fun. Thank you for coming. And 再见。